Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the Sleep Number biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Plus free home delivery with the purchase of any smart bed. Ends Monday. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's ride! Woo!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Muse is not here today. Instead, it's Alondra Villarreal. And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there, make it a good one. Continue our SEC fall previews. Nick Kelly's here in 13 minutes. Talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Cole Cubelic, bottom of this hour. Our guy J-Boy, Jake Crane from Crane & Company next hour. Our side piece, as it were. We'll look forward to that. It's an appropriate time for The Athletic to release their QB tiers list. For what it's worth, it's just keeping in mind that this is very subjective. It's a panel of 46, 50 voters, coaches, executives. So credible people that vote, and they break them down into 5 different tiers. Tier 1, for example, can carry their team each week. The team wins because of him. He expertly handles pure passing situations. He has no real holes in his game. There are, according to The Athletic, 5 Tier 1 quarterbacks. Those quarterbacks are tied for number 1, Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow, followed by Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Matthew Stafford. Odd to see Matthew Stafford there, especially at this point in his career as a Tier 1 player. And then they go on from there. Jaden Daniels leads Tier 2, by the way, at number 6, followed by Justin Herbert, Jared Goff, C.J. Stroud, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield. That's an interesting one. Former number 1 overall pick. Really seems to have hit his stride in Tampa. They've won the division the last 2 seasons. Dak, Jordan Love, Brock Purdy are next. But it's odd to see Jaden Daniels and Brock Purdy in the same tier. Maybe that's disrespectful to Purdy, who's gotten San Francisco to a Super Bowl, but Jimmy G also got San Francisco to a Super Bowl. So how much of it was it? How much of that was Purdy? How much of it was you just got a really good roster? Probably some of both. Tier 3, Kyler Murray, followed by a big drop for Aaron Rodgers, who dropped from Tier 2 to Tier 3. Kyler Murray, Aaron, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, Bo Nix, Sam Darnold. Big jump for Sam Darnold this year, by the way. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Kirk Cousins. That's notable because obviously Bryce Young, Kirk Cousins are both in the NFC South. Young ascending a couple of spots. Kirk Cousins, the biggest drop among all the quarterbacks, dropped 12 spots this past year, where, of course, he lost his job. Tier 4, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, Daniel Jones, Joe Flacco, Anthony Richardson, and ranked 33rd is where we find Spencer Rattler. For what it's worth, Tyler Shuck is not on this list. Kenny Pickett is the only Tier 5 quarterback. Tier 5 quarterbacks are termed as best suited as a backup. So One notch above that is where we find Spencer Rattler. And Kellen Moore, when he met with reporters on Tuesday, kind of gave his game review of Spencer Rattler after having had time to watch the film.
Yeah, I thought Spencer did some really good things. There was no wow moments, unfortunately. And sometimes that's just the circumstance of the game. I thought he did a good job. We had the fumble in the pocket, really challenging circumstance. I think outside of that, he protected the football. I thought he did a great job on third down, finding Cedric in a little bit of a busted coverage situation where the ball's not necessarily going to Cedric. He finds him. I think that's impressive for him to be able to just navigate that and handle that really, really well. Used his legs really well in some passing situations to find first downs, and so. I thought there was a lot of good in there.
So Kellen Moore said there were no wow plays from Rattler, which is true. There was the disappointing play, which is the strip sack fumble. Got a hold on the ball. But no wow plays. The flip side of it was you did have the wow play from Tyler Shuck. You also had the pick six, which is massively disappointing. So now as you move into the second week of preseason, Kellen Moore was asked where this competition goes from here, where it's very clear Jake Haener is out of the running. They're deciding between Rattler and Shuck and where they go from here.
It keeps competing. That's the plan. So these guys, there's good and there's opportunities to improve in the first preseason game. It is the first one. We'll continue to rotate these guys, and we'll let this whole week play itself out and put ourselves in position to make some decisions for the Jacksonville game.
Real quick, go to Six Alonso, because they were, just as a follow-up to that, he was asked if the reps were going to be similar, where Rattler started, Shuck followed, and then obviously throughout the week of practice as well.
There might be some mixing and matching kind of the rest of the week here, just to kind of continue to rotate those guys, and then we'll just make a decision as far as Jacksonville game.
I want to see Tyler Shuck get the start. I want to see him get the lion's share of the reps this week. Not because I think he should be ordained. I just want to see what that looks like. I mean, if you're going to continue this exercise of going through camp, trying to determine who's going to be your starter, then you've got to give him looks. I mean, I'm not telling you anything you don't know or that Kellen Moore doesn't obviously know. But I would like to see, this is really what happened a year ago also when Derek Carr wasn't playing in the preseason and they were rotating between Rattler and Haener. And how they would manage those reps for the second spot. And ultimately where they landed on, it wasn't even initially, because the first time Derek Carr got hurt, we did see Jake Haener. So, and then Rattler became the starter. It wasn't that dissimilar from when we saw when we saw Drew Brees get hurt. Jameis was the backup quarterback in game, but when they had a full week to prepare, Taysom was the starter. Now I'm going back to 2020 in this situation here, but that's because Taysom, they had a game week plan where Taysom was in the game plan that week as his Taysom role. And so if Brees got hurt and they moved Taysom into quarterback, well, now you're eliminating not only Brees but also Taysom in his Taysom role. In the middle of a game, Jameis stepped in, and you could keep Taysom in his role. But when they went into a game week, a full week to prepare and game plan, that's when they had Taysom as the starting quarterback. That was in the COVID year. This is different now because you're trying to determine what it looks like when one of these guys gets the start, gets the lion's share of the reps, all that stuff. You saw it with Rattler. Let's see it with Shuck. Let's see if it's any different. One more from Kellen Moore. And Kellen, and God bless, I understand it. I don't think he's going to give us anything too salacious, and I don't know that there's anything too salacious to say. And maybe this is just a product of the circumstance surrounding the New Orleans Saints, or maybe this is just what Kellen Moore is going to be like for as long as he's the New Orleans Saints coach. He's not going to say anything to the media. That's fine if it's what it is. Every coach handles this differently. But he was asked how the quarterbacks have progressed through camp.
No doubt. This is Tyler's first NFL training camp. You cannot rush to judgment. You got to go through this whole process. He's going to get better each and every day. There's a lot of things that are first time trial and error, and then you get better the second time. You don't see a lot of the same mistakes. And even for Spencer, I mean, this is his second camp. This is a new system for him. There's going to be some trial and error. You can't make the same mistakes twice, and I think that's the beauty of what you're seeing between these guys and Jake. And Hunter doesn't get as many reps, but he gets all the mental component of this thing. These guys are working their tails off.
So they'll continue. The Saints will be on the practice field this evening on Wednesday. Thursday, they're expected to have joint practices with the Rams. They'll fly home on Friday, walk through Saturday, play Jacksonville on Sunday. But I would like to see it inverted. I would like to see Shuck get the start this time and get the lion's share of the reps. And then if you're going to make a decision in the final week of the preseason who your starter is going to be, then let that player, whoever it is, Rattler or Shuck, do what we used to see in the third preseason game. In the former era when they would play 4 preseason games, you would see the starter, whomever that would be, by the third preseason game end up playing like a full half, maybe into the third quarter, and then didn't play it all in the fourth preseason game. I'd kind of like to see this one flip from the first and the third one treated like what the third preseason game used to be, where it's just you're ramping up whoever your starter is going to be. But we'll see how Kellen Moore chooses to handle it. All right, it's after further review. We'll knock out a quick break. We'll continue our SEC fall previews. We're going in order of LSU's opponents. So today, we'll talk about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Kelly of AL.com is next.
AFR.
Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. I get it, funny name, logo, all that stuff. But at Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, it's so much more than just ED treatments. Yes, they do ED treatments. And they do more than just the oral, the pill. I was talking to Gabe over there. I was actually over at Goodwood today because I was picking up my NAD and my BPC, my NAD plus my BPC 157. And he was telling me they have a new peptide, which actually is another alternate therapy for both men and women that can help with libido. So, guys, if maybe your wife says she's maybe premenopausal or in menopause, is struggling with her libido, this is something like a peptide that could be potentially helpful for her also. But I've told you about my own experience with like BPC 157. If you struggle with injury, this is amazing for recovery. It's also derived from gastric juice, so it helps with people with gut issues. Learn more about what is there. Lowest prices, never any contracts. yourgoodwood.com.
After further the review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Run away, but hold her down with soggy clothes and breeze blocks. Shivers in your fever, scream me again. Never kisses, or do you ever send a full stop? Do you know where the waffles go? They go along to take your honey. Way down how we.
I'm glad you're rolling along with us here. Cole Cubelic will be along in about 15 minutes from right now. We'll talk to our buddy Jake Crane from Crane & Company next hour. We are taking our tour around the SEC, our fall camp previews. We're going in order of LSU's opponents. So pretty easy way to figure out. Yesterday we looked at Texas A&M. Today it's the Alabama Crimson Tide. Nick Kelly covers the Tide for AL.com. Good enough to join us for a couple of minutes here. Hey, Nick, we appreciate it, man. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, Matt. I'm doing well. Yourself?
Doing really well. Thank you for asking. Better question maybe is, how's the vibe around Tuscaloosa after, I think it's fair to say, a lackluster first season under Kalen DeBoer with 4 losses, with expectations in Tuscaloosa that never subside?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a up and down roller coaster kind of experience where there's a lot of pessimism right as the season ended, where, I mean, they lost to a JV Michigan team in the Rely Quest Bowl. I mean, that was a pretty low moment.
A JV Michigan team.
I mean, it was.
It's true. It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
It was not a good Michigan team, and it didn't go well for Alabama. So things were not great then. But I think ever since, optimism's been building. I think a big piece of that was they bring in Ryan Grubb, who's obviously a proven OC, who's very successful at the college level. And then, just the moves they made in the offseason. And, of course, optimism's, I think, common in most places in college football this time of year. But
yes.
The optimism is really high, I think, in Tuscaloosa right now. And I think that's because of who they added, because of the fact that they kept all their team together in the spring window. So overall, it just seems like, I mean, I think fans are just ready for year 2, push year 1 in the rearview mirror and move on, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, August is the most optimistic month of the year for every single fan base. You mentioned
everyone's undefeated, right?
Yeah, everyone is undefeated. You mentioned Ryan Grubb. So here's my most interesting question is, they bring in Ryan Grubb, and I think we all know Grubb and DeBoer worked together for a long time. They hired him, and then he went to the Seahawks and all that stuff. How, if at all, different will the offense look with Ryan Grubb there this year?
It's going to look different, but I think part of that is they have a different quarterback. They have a quarterback who I think can run that system better. But I do think it's going to be a system that is more focused on attacking downfield and making sure they connect on passes deep downfield, but also take care of the football. I think that was their biggest issue a year ago, is they were a little careless at times with the football, and that put the defense in some rough spots. We talk about that Michigan game. We talked about the Oklahoma game. I mean, there were some not winning plays made, if you will, losing plays, probably a better way to put that, by the offense. So I think Ryan Grubb is stressing taking care of the football, making sure that they take gimme plays, if you will, is the phrase that's been thrown around. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see what it looks like myself, but I think a lot of what it will look different is because they have a different quarterback.
So Ty Simpson, I saw the report, is going to be the guy. Was this ever really a competition, Nick, or was this always seemingly preordained?
I would say that it was a competition, but Ty was always the heavy favorite.
Okay.
In part because he was the veteran guy. I mean, he hasn't started much, but he was a guy who's been around. And I think this offense, more than anything, needs a guy who's going to just make smart plays and take care of the football. They don't need Superman. They just need a guy who can facilitate with the Ryan Williams, with the Isaiah Hortons, and guys that they have on the offensive side of the ball. So it always made sense to maybe take a guy who's a little more steady and maybe not as high of a ceiling, but someone that they trust. And I just thought it was going to be a long shot for them to put a true freshman out there from the beginning. Now, if Ty Simpson doesn't play well, maybe things change. But, yeah, I'm not surprised at all they went with a more veteran, safer pick.
Nick Kelly's with us, AL.com. He's on Twitter at _Nick Kelly. You want to give him a follow for your Alabama coverage. What, Nick, maybe aside from quarterback, what is the biggest question on the offensive side?
It's not the most exciting, but I would say tight end. They have to replace C.J. Dupree and Robbie Oots, both who are in NFL camps, and Robbie Oots was a draft pick by the Seahawks. They're phenomenal blockers. You can ask your next guest about Robbie Oots. Cole Cubelic, I think, loved him some Robbie Oots. So you got to replace that.
Cole loves a blocker, man. He loves a good blocker.
I've heard rumors of such. So, but no, Robbie Oots. Those are some key pieces that they had last year. So they have to replace that, and they had a bunch of injuries at tight end, and so they've got a lot of different faces. And I just don't feel certain about that position. They've got some options, but otherwise, I mean, that's the thing. Again, we're in the season of optimism, but I feel good about the receivers. Maybe one of the best groups in the country at that position. Running back wise, Jam Miller, I think, has had a really good fall camp. The offensive line, I think, has improved. Quarterback, of course, you could talk about is we don't know what to expect there, but otherwise, I think tight ends is the only spot I don't feel certain about.
If you flip it over defensively, I guess same question for a unit that returns a lot from a season ago. Where is the big question mark defensively?
That's easy. It's pass rush. Even though the defense had a good season last year, the pass rush was inconsistent at best. And that's the thing. Kane Womack had to come up, the defensive coordinator, to come up with a lot of creativity to blitz, to create pressure. And they didn't have guys that were necessarily winning one-on-one battles on a frequent basis. They didn't have a Will Anderson or a Dallas Turner type. Most teams don't. But Alabama was in that camp that didn't have one. And they need to improve the pass rush. They need guys who scare some offenses, that teams have to focus on blocking. And so I think that's the biggest focus is, can they get that? I think they've got some guys who have potential for that. L.T. Overton is at the front of that list. He was the king of the almost sack. He got pressure, but he seemed to rarely get home at times. And I think he's been working on improving that. But, yeah, they've got some other guys they need to step up as well and win off the edge. So pass rush is my biggest question, because otherwise, guys, I mean, the secondary I think is going to be phenomenal. They've got some vets in the middle of the defense at linebacker. The defensive line, they've got some dudes. So it just all comes down to, what does the pass rush look like? What do they look like off the edge?
I always, Nick, whenever I look at a team before the season and I'm trying to project, I always look at two things. My audience knows this. They've heard me say it a million times over the years. I look at who has the fewest questions against the most manageable schedule. So we talked about some of the questions that Alabama has lingering. Let's look at the schedule. When you look at Alabama's slate, what is the most important stretch that's going to determine whatever this season becomes for Alabama?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the stretch from, I know I'm talking to a Baton Rouge station or Louisiana station, but I'm going to go with an earlier portion of SEC play, going from Georgia to then I believe Vanderbilt, then I think it's
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri, and then you have Tennessee. I mean, those are some games right there that Missouri's a potential trap game because they have some emotional games. I can't believe I'm about to say it against Vanderbilt, considering they want to get revenge there with Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
But I mean, that game has some emotions tied to it. And then you have Tennessee shortly after in the month of October. That obviously is a rivalry game, emotions tied to that. So those are two games that are important that Alabama, I think, needs to win, avenge from last year. But then you have Missouri, a road trip there. Alabama struggled on the road at times last year. So, yeah, can Alabama sustain and make sure they don't let up in any of those games? I think that stretch. And, of course, again, going to Athens, playing Georgia is not going to be easy at all. So we'll see what happens over those. I think that's what, 4-ish, 5-ish games there.
No, you're right. That's a stretch of 5 consecutive. You get the open date before the trip to Georgia, but Georgia starts 5 straight weeks of conference play, which I think you're right. I mean, that's a haul for any team. I mean, that is a gauntlet. Then the open date before they play LSU in Tuscaloosa. Nick, I do want to get a thought on the 2 Power 5 non-conference games, which I'll tip my hat. Like, I want to see teams play. I wish everybody would eliminate the goofy G5, FCS nonsense from their schedule. And I know there's like an Eastern Illinois game or whatever it is later down the stretch, but game at Florida State and a home game against Wisconsin. I mean, those types of games that fans want to see. What should we expect? I mean, opening up in Tallahassee and then a game in Tuscaloosa against Wisconsin.
Yeah, I agree. I love the Power 4 non-conference schedule. I think it's great for college football. It's great for the fans. It's great for us in the media. Like, more, please.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as far as those matchups.
Nick, who wakes up on a September Saturday and goes, yeah, Bama ULM, let's flip and go? It just doesn't exist. Like, but I know I'm gonna go on a tangent now. It's just they've all got to collectively agree to do it because no one's just gonna voluntarily disadvantage themselves by playing all Power 4 non-conference. But we'll get there eventually. Anyway, I'm sorry. We can start with Florida State.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole segment on that, Matt. But Florida State, that's going to be an interesting game because you got Gus Malzahn, Alabama's old buddy, calling that offense. And those offenses have given Alabama troubles at times. Now, that was against Nick Saban teams, but that's intriguing. And then you have the fact that Thomas Castellanos had some fighting words about Alabama.
What is he doing? Nick, what's he doing?
It wasn't, I mean, I love it because it's fun when people can have a little fun with this, like a little maybe UFC or something like that. But yeah, I love that kind of energy. But if you think that Alabama's not using that or thinking about that, like, then you'd be mistaken. I think that definitely. I think that the phrase was that disrespect will be addressed, and so that was noticed. So I think it adds some fun fuel there. But I'll be surprised. I mean, Florida State's gonna be better than a year ago. They have to be. I mean, how could you not be? But I'd be surprised if Alabama starts 0-1. At least that would shock me. And then that Wisconsin game. I mean, the Badgers, I don't think are going to be anything to write home about. So I think that will probably be another Alabama win. But still, nonetheless, I think it will be fun to have the Badgers fans come to Tuscaloosa. It was fun to go to Madison last year and see all those fans up there and that turnout. So still, even if it's not going to be a great matchup, I think it's going to be a fun atmosphere.
If Kalen DeBoer does not make the playoff in year 2, what are the ramifications?
Well, the seat's going to get awfully hot. I mean, for the people who have asked if that gets him fired, his buyout's too big. To me, that it would shock me if he's not given a third year. But yeah, I mean, the expectation, if 2 years in a row that Alabama does not make the playoff, I mean, that's just not good enough. They know that last year wasn't good enough. That a 9-3 and then 9-4 season was not okay. And they also recognize, I remember Caden Proctor talked about it at SEC Media Days, they know it's been a long time since they've won a championship. Mind you, if they don't win this year, it'll have been 5 years, which I think some fan bases would think that's nothing. But 5 years without a championship, those are like dog years. So, yeah, I mean, the pressure's on, and I think they feel it. But I will be shocked, honestly, Matt, if Alabama's not in the playoff. I think they just have too much talent. And again, season optimism, but having been around enough Alabama teams, I'm just going to be surprised if they're not in the mix for that 12-team playoff or if they don't make it.
He is Nick Kelly, AL.com. He's on Twitter at _Nick Kelly. Y'all give him a follow there. Nick, we appreciate it, man. Thank you for the time.
Hey, thanks for having me. Have a good one, guys.
Man, you do the same. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We'll knock out a quick break. Cole Cubelic's here next.
After Further Review.
We're brought to you by Glow Resources. They are complete employer solutions. Check them out at glowresources.com, glowresources.com. You know where to find them, glowresources.com. Our friends over at Glow Resources, man, Jareth Nakan and his staff have done such an awesome job of continuing to grow and expand while maintaining home base right here in Louisiana. You know, yes, they specialize in skilled blue-collar labor, but they have their professional placement division as well. So if you're looking for that white-collar position, you know, they can make a move for an employee to a customer when the customer may fall short. Like, the customer's focused on their business. Glow focuses on hiring. You know, they do 50 interviews a day. That's 15,000 interviews a year. Like, how many interviews do you do in a year at your business? That's why you need Glow Resources. GlowResources.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Having a conversation with Cole Cubelic and Greg McElroy on their show on Jocks FM in Birmingham on Monday, and I kind of wanted to continue it here with Cole, so he's good enough to jump aboard. He's on Twitter at Cole Cubelic. You know where to find him. Yo, man, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. We were talking a little bit. The biggest question people I've heard about LSU is the offensive line. Makes sense, right? You lose 4 starters to the NFL draft. One of them is the 4th pick overall. I get it. Big question. My contention so far has been watching this team, Cole. They got a lot of talent on the offensive line, but 5 have to learn to play as 1. If I asked you, as a guy who played center in the SEC, what is a realistic timeline to think that 5 guys that have never played together could gel and play as one unit effectively?
Ooh, it's going to be weeks. I mean, you have groups that go a year or 2 together that can't really ever pull that off. That never find their way to be, from a continuity standpoint, a group that really gets it and understands it. So I wouldn't really expect it to be elite. I mean, the good news is you got a great offensive line coach there in Baton Rouge, and the understanding with some of the guys that are maybe younger but have been in the system, that's going to help. But man, I tell people all the time, Matt, it doesn't happen until you've done it together against people trying to make you look bad. A lot of times, and Brian Kelly's at a disadvantage because college football just doesn't allow that a whole lot these days. You're just not in pads a ton. So, and then you're going to get a guy that misses a practice because he's dehydrated and he cramped up. You're going to get a guy that has a knee sprain. You're going to get a guy that has a concussion, whatever it is. And it's like, how often are those 5 really together anyway? And that's where the group's kind of like what Florida has this year, that have spent 2-3 years together, the majority of them, that practice time, those game reps together. You know, it's I've talked to multiple offensive linemen the last couple of years that have said, you know, these game reps are like practice reps now. Like, we need those together to grow, to understand, to see what it's going to be like. Because number one, you don't get that kind of practice time a whole lot, and then 2, they just hadn't been together as long.
Yeah. How do you think they compensate? Like the coordinator schematically, how do you compensate for that potential deficiency?
Well, exactly like you did last year. You just don't hand the ball off.
You know what's interesting, Cole? We talked to Joe Sloan on Friday, and he said point blank, like, we're going to run the ball. And I know Will Campbell said it last year, but Will Campbell kind of said it like with this bravado. Joe Sloan's like, no, like, we've got to. And so one of the things we're seeing a lot, Cole, is it's just creativity. It's direct snaps to the running backs. It's jet sweeps. It's receivers in the backfield. It's just all these different ways.
Listen, there are ways to circumvent this, okay? And the good news is a lot of how offense has been designed recently has been designed for that. Hurry up, no huddle. Spread offense. Like, they don't do that because they have better receivers than everybody. Most of that stuff was created because they couldn't get the guys blocked. So they want to try to wear you down by the end of the game, and then therefore your size strength advantage on the defensive line wasn't as much of an advantage anymore. Why do you think Baylor, Tennessee, all these other teams are lining up their receivers 4 inches from each sideline? Well, it's not because they're so good at receiver, their one-on-ones are going to beat you. They need your bigger bodies away from the football. So you either decide you're going to play half a man, advantage that defense, you're going to leave the receivers out there by themselves, probably advantage offense, or you're going to play in the box, which then gives them other things they can do through the passing game. And then mobile quarterbacks, what does that do? Forces an extra defender to be closer to the football, and you're going to have to play either a bigger style or give you different advantages somewhere else. But most of these things, slide protection, you hear me complain about it all the time, Matt. Basically, you guys can't pass protect. So what do? You take one gap each, you stay hip to hip, you stay kind of locked up where you don't feel like you're going to give away that penetration. That's all that has been designed because there's not a lot of Alan Sanecas running around. I mean, that's just what it is. And, we've gotten further and further away from developing that position. Now with the transfer portal, these kids are not playing next to each other for very long. You got to find different ways to help them out. So all the motion that you see, that's not just like Steve Sarkisian trying to get a receiver on a safety. A lot of that is, when you watch it, there's a play called split zone. You'll run inside zone to the right. That receiver or the tight end will come across the opposite direction. And if you ever pay close enough attention to that, a lot of times that off-the-ball linebacker will take one step with that, we call it a splitter or a slider, who comes the opposite direction. That gives you a huge advantage, not for the running back to hit the hole when he's not there, but just for that offensive lineman to be able to get up and get the correct angle on him because he took that one false step. All of a sudden, advantage us. Hell, even if you're doing that with your eyes, that's a big advantage for us. So there's a lot of different ways you can help it with motions, with split zone, with bootlegs, play fakes. Hey, I'll tell you another thing. Like, Nussmeier needs to keep a zone read every now and then and just run it. Just show that it can happen, because then now all of a sudden you freeze the backside of that defense. You force that off-the-ball linebacker to play a little bit more straight up, and that gives the offensive line different advantages in different ways.
I want to ask another follow-up in just a second, but since we're kind of going down this road, this is a deviation. You get to go watch these teams not only on TV, but you get to watch the SEC teams in person and talk to the coaches and the players in game week and all. If I just totally open-ended, who do you think, who is the best quarterback in the SEC going into this season?
Right now, I would say Garrett Nussmeier.
Who's number 2?
Okay, let's go through the list here, because I know what you're probably getting at is that most people are going to easy answer say Lagway.
No, I'm not getting at anything. I'm not getting.
No, but I'm trying to think it out here. I'm trying to think out loud because I think the guy that probably deserves to be in that conversation that's not going to be is going to be Taylon Green at Arkansas. He's just been limited from a weapons and an overall offensive, I guess, talent standpoint. Lagway and Sellers are going to be towards the top. We don't know much about Ty Simpson. Obviously, Jackson Arnold's got a lot to prove. We don't know what Bo Purbuell is going to be like at Missouri. So Arch Manning, I think, is still a very limited sample size, so I don't put him even in the top 3 right now. We don't know enough about Austin Simmons. I think we know what Blake Shapen is, but he's just got to be available and be healthy, which honestly is becoming part of the problem with DJ Lagway. Like, I need you to be available. And it's been in small doses, but miss time. Like, that can't keep happening and you be the best quarterback in the SEC. So I think right now I would say Nussmeier, Lagway, Sellers, probably in that order. But keep in mind, you asked who the best quarterback was. And that's different than who can run the fastest and who can throw the farthest or throw the hardest.
Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't leading. I just was.
And John Mateer needs to be in that discussion. But I hate the whole who's your first team All SEC quarterback? A guy who's never taken a snap in the SEC. Like, I don't have a hard time doing that. Like, I think John Mateer is going to be great. I think Deion Burks is going to be awesome. I think that defensive line is the best D line in the SEC right now. But it's like, I just have a hard time saying you're the first team All SEC quarterback, even though you've never taken a snap in the SEC. Like, that's just something my brain can't really grasp. But John Mateer is going to be in that conversation or at the top of that list by the end of the season.
Okay. You alluded to a minute ago when I was talking about LSU running the ball, and you said, well, because they don't hand it off. And I know you feel strongly about this, but to bring this conversation full circle, LSU did have 4 guys last year on the offensive line that had played 170 collegiate games combined and had started with each other for 3 years, and they couldn't run the ball. Why?
You're going to do this again.
What?
You're going to do this again.
What was the – I want you to do this for my audience. What was the problem with LSU last year? Why they were 107th in the country in rushing offense?
I'm going to stick to what I've told you for an entire offseason, and I guess we're just going to get to the point that you're not going to believe me.
No, you just haven't told my audience. You've told me this on your show at SEC Media Days. I want you to tell our audience.
You cannot be good at running the football without an attempt to do so. You cannot. Put the Alabama game on. Watch the first play. Watch the fourth play. Watch the first play of the third quarter. And then why doesn't that happen again? I know score dictates some things later in games. Same thing in the A&M game. Like, you can't tell me they could never run the ball. That wasn't a real thing. Without an attempt to run the ball or being so selective with when you decide to run the ball, that's not Will Campbell's fault. That's not Emory Jones's fault. It's not Mason Taylor even fault when he's trying to help his tight end. You can't just say, okay, 3rd and 1. Now, guys, we have to get 2 yards of movement here. We have to bulldoze these guys into the end zone for a touchdown. It doesn't work that way. Like, you live the life that you live. Like, I can't go run a marathon tomorrow. I don't live that life. I'm not a marathon runner. Like, it's not real. I can't just say, you know what, guys? And this is hilarious because McElroy said this on our show a couple weeks ago. He's like, I could do a triathlon right now. And I was like, you are out of your mind. You've completely lost it. And then he changed it to like I guess there's different levels of marathons, and he's like the regular person or triathlon. I mean, he's like the regular person triathlon. I could do that. And it's like half a mile, and a mile and a half instead of like 20 miles, and 10 miles.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. Well, like an Ironman is you do a 3-mile swim, a 100-mile bike ride, and then a full marathon. He's certifiably insane if he thinks he can do
your rear end would be so raw on that bike ride, not even halfway through it, that you'd quit. And you'd shut it down.
He wouldn't get to the bike ride, Cole. A 3-mile swim. A 3-mile swim is insane.
But he'll sit there and tell you he can do it today. I was like, your arms would fall off after a mile of swimming because you're not going to use your legs the way you're supposed to. Like that's how all of us non-Olympians swim. So, but back to it. Back to the reality here. Saban said this a long time ago, and people didn't really catch on to it. And it's when Tua was at Alabama, and they had a somewhat similar problem. They would have games be up, 10, 14, 13, whatever, early fourth quarter, and they'd go up there and try to run the ball, and they'd get stuffed. And people would badger Saban at the end of games about it. And finally, after the third or fourth game in a row that this happened, he lost it in a press conference. He said, let me tell you guys something. He said, when you got a quarterback as talented as ours and you give him the option to throw the ball or hand the ball off, what do you think he's going to do 90% of the time? Because you're right, he's going to throw the ball. So in practice, when our offensive line's asked to run block, and they run block, slant, pass over the middle, out route. At some point in time, your brain starts to say, why in the hell are we doing this? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect things. The only thing affecting thing is, can Jerry Jeudy make the catch? Is Devonta Smith going to get 50 yards or 15 yards after he catches this ball? We don't dictate what happens in the game. Then all of a sudden you get to that point in the game and you say, okay, guys, need you to go be some caterpillars here now. Go be some earth movers. We haven't done that in a long time, but now you want us to do that. It doesn't work that way. You live the life that you live every single day in practice, in games, whatever that is. And you can't just all of a sudden say, all right, I'm going to go live this different life now, and we need to be a bunch of bullies and go push people around. It's not how an offensive line can operate. So I will stick to this. I don't think that offensive line could not run block last year. I don't think that offensive line was given a fair chance to be good run blockers last year, because selectively doing it once a quarter, once a half, once every 3 games is not giving me the opportunity to prove to you what I'm about and what I can do, because teams are going to slant, teams are going to stack the box, teams are going to move, teams are going to blitz. And if you do those 1 out of 3 times, when we're running the ball 1 out of 33 times, and you win the one time we decide to run it, you're going to look at that and say, those guys can't run block. When either the numbers weren't right or the situation was bad and they just happen to have our number on that play, you've got to give me consecutive opportunities to go out there and prove that we can be that kind of a unit. And I don't honestly feel like they were given that chance last year.
Cole Cubelic, SEC Network, Mac and Cube on Jocks FM. A Cube Show on YouTube and Tuesday Date Night as well.
Tuesday Date Night.
I love this.
We got a very controversial episode this week.
If you don't know, Cole and his wife do a podcast together called Tuesday Date Night, and you should go subscribe to that. I want to listen to it on my way home tonight. What's controversial about it?
Well, there's a vasectomy scheduled for Friday, and the controversy is whether or not I'll show up for it. So,
why would you do that?
I'm doing it against my will.
Yeah,
I'm doing it at the wishes of my wife.
Okay.
And as someone who legitimately has had 14 operations, probably 10 of those serious operations, and has never had an ounce of fear about any of them. I had a foot surgery where Dr. James Andrews, legendary trackster at LSU, by the way, I believe pole vaulter,
no doubt,
told me when he was getting ready for me to go under that we've never done this before, so hopefully it goes well. Didn't care. Said, put me to sleep. We're good. I had a screw in my foot that was bent. He told me that the bone was stronger than the screw. When they began to torque it and pull it out, it could break. And I said, what happens if it breaks? He said, we'll let you wake up and talk about it then. I'm like, just get it done. Didn't worry about it. Didn't have a single ounce of fear, no anxiety whatsoever. I don't really know what anxiety is, I don't think, but I feel like I'm figuring it out because I've got it now with this. And I cannot get my brain comfortable with it. I sweat and hyperventilate when I talk about it. And she just thinks it's, you need to go in there and do that. We're going to get that taken care of. And it's not that easy. It's not something that I feel okay. I had 15 people DM me on Instagram today after listening to the show saying, it's not a big deal. You'll be fine. There are no words that are going to bring comfort to this for me. There's not. So I don't know why people are trying.
It's Tuesday Date Night. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
Also, very important question for you that we discussed on the podcast. We had pizza last night.
Okay.
Are you okay with burnt pizza?
Define burnt.
This fancy tile oven, brick oven, grilled, made, whatever it is, pizza.
Yeah, where it's like you bite into it, it's like it's crispy.
The thinner crust, and it tastes like bark.
I'm good with it. It's not my preference, but I'll eat pretty much anything.
I told the lady last night because we had been there before, and I said I would like mine taken out when it's halfway finished.
I gotta go. I got a hard break. I gotta go. Thank you for the time.
See ya.
See you. That's Cole Cubelic at AMR.
After further review.
Brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Oh, man. 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. We should have just done the whole interview about the Tuesday Date Night pod. We can do the football conversations anytime, anywhere. We should have just been talking about the vasectomy and the burnt pizza. That's way more interesting. All right, Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Seaganeer Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. You know where they are. I tell you every day to buy local and shop local. Y'all, fall is here. They're playing football out at LSU in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from Saturday. It's fall. It's time to plant your fall vegetable garden. They've got your vegetable plants. They've got Johnny Naylor seeds. They've got all the fall bedding plants as well. Best selection, new arrivals every single day. Great exercise and activity for the family to do together. And garden-to-table produce is delicious. Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
I'm going to move quickly here since Cole took up a lot of time talking about vasectomies and burnt pizza. Alondra, Tigers in the pros.
Tigers in the pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
For what it's worth, I love burnt pizza. So
when we go to there's a Jabby's by our house, and Erica loves Jabby's. It's fine. It's not my favorite. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
Right? It's just whatever. Erica's like, burn it. And so I go, and they're like, okay, crispy. I said, no. Whatever you think is crispy, like double that.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a look and see if it needs to go back in. Because she will send me back to make you put this back in the oven.
She gets me. I like a little tiny burnt pizza. I'll just give you a quick update on Aaron Nola real quick since we don't have too much time. But he's set to return to the Phillies after cruising through his latest rehab start. He struck out 11 in 5 2/3, gave up 4 hits and 2 runs.
11 and 5 2/3.
So he's
minor leaguer, here it comes.
He's scheduled to pitch on Sunday night for the Phillies versus the Nationals, but Rob Thompson says they may hold him for Monday, but his return is imminent.
Okay.
That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Evermore. Love me some Evermore. Aaron Nola drinks his Evermore. I actually don't know that, and I probably shouldn't say that because I can't prove that, but
Dak Prescott does.
He does. That's on the website. I shouldn't say this, but they actually did no, I'm not going to say it. They did some NIL deals with quarterbacks last year. One of them wore number 4 with a red jersey or a crimson jersey. Yeah. How about we get 13 and white drinking that stuff? How about that? EVAMOR, Evermore.com. Drink Evermore. I love when people send me pictures of their Evermore all the time on my text line. I love it. Keep them coming. All right, y'all. Hour number 3 is coming straight up. We are going to talk to our buddy J-Boy, Jake Crane. He's got LSU 9-3. We'll have him explain his sins. Speak for your crimes.
AFR.
South Point Volkswagen is Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer. And I say that all the time, and I say it slowly because remember, if they're the largest volume Volkswagen dealer, it means they got more inventory, so you got better selection. So if you're looking for a certain body style, certain features, certain color, you can't get it somewhere else, well, South Point probably can. And if they don't have it, they can get it for you. And because they move more inventory, they can probably give you a better deal. So even if you live outside of Baton Rouge, it might be worth the drive to Baton Rouge to go to South Point Volkswagen if they can get the vehicle you want with the options you want, the color you want at a better price. South Point Volkswagen. And I love that they're always finding ways to give you even better deals. SouthPointVW.com, SouthPointVW.com. You can search their inventory, new and certified, pre-owned. The all-new electric ID4, how about $209 a month on a 24-month lease? What more are you waiting for, y'all? Get on by. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?